amigos, I'm the Spanish chef Omar Allibhoy, and today I'm going to show you how to cook slow braised pork cheeks in a sweet cherry sauce. And for those of you who would like to learn a little bit of Spanish, we call this dish Carrilleras Estofadas al Pedro Ximenez. It's a sensational recipe and one that brings me fond memories of my home country. I've always loved offcuts and offal dishes, even though that doesn't come from sort of the digestive cavity, it comes from our cheeky cheeks. And they are cuts that generally need a little bit more tender loving care, and in this case slow braising it with a lot of wine for a long time to achieve extreme tenderness. This is the type of dish that the meat will fall off the bone, even though it doesn't have a bone, but you know what I mean, that you could eat it with a spoon because of how soft and buttery the meat will become. And whether you're using pork cheeks or beef cheeks, or if you're very lucky and you manage to get hold of some Iberico pork cheeks, you may live in Spain, or you may ask your butcher to get you some frozen Iberico pork cheeks, which are incredibly succulent, and I would invite you to try to get hold of some. Unfortunately, it's not my case, they are just white pig pork cheeks. But you are up for a treat, and you'll see there's very little difference amongst them, because after the slow braising and the slow cooking, it's not so evident as if it was a meat that you only grill and serve medium rare or something like that, where the difference between using a white pig and an Iberico pig will be gigantic. But in any event, let me run you through the ingredients and let me get cooking. You're going to need tomato paste, cinnamon stick, black peppercorns, cloves, bay leaves, brown caster sugar, carrots, celery, onions, Spanish red wine, sweet Spanish Pedro Ximenez sherry, extra virgin olive oil, some fresh thyme, garlic, the pork cheeks, beef stock, and a bit of table salt. We're going to start by drizzling generously with extra virgin olive oil our wide frying pan. As you can see, I'm using my favorite clay pot for this, as this type of very wintry dishes sort of feel better to me when I cook them in my favorite pot. And we're going to season generously with salt our pork cheeks on both sides, and we're gonna pan fry it for about 8 minutes until dark brown on both sides. It takes a little bit of time. If your pan or pot is not wide enough, make sure you do it in 2 batches so that your pork cheeks don't just boil and simmer and they sear on the outside. That's what we really need. Peel and roughly chop your carrots, celery, and a Spanish onion. This is what we will call a mirepoix, which is a roughly cut vegetables that will give a fantastic rich flavor to our stock, or in this case our sauce. And peel some garlics as well, which I'm going to be using whole, as this is a very hearty, comforting stew. The type of dish that one loves to enjoy on a wintry day. And now I'm going to add them into my pan. As you can see, it has caramelized a lot, it has stuck to the bottom of the pan, and slowly through cooking the vegetables, it will start sticking to our vegetables now. And now it's time to put all our spices, caster sugar and tomato paste, and I remind you that is the cinnamon stick, the cloves, the bay leaves and the black peppercorns. I'm adding as well the fresh thyme, and cook it for a couple of minutes so that the tomato paste fries as well as our spices that will release some essential oils and plenty of flavor. Now add your pork cheeks back into the pan, and we are going to deglaze with the sweet cherry wine and the red wine. I am trying to flambe, but it was not hot enough, and it's taken a little bit longer. You don't have to flambe in any way, and if you do it, make it safely. Make sure that you don't put your face or hands on top of your pan. Deglaze the bottom by stirring with a wooden spoon or a metal spatula. Normally it sort of removes the bottom of the pan better. the sticky bits, and now we're going to pour the hot beef stock, which is the essence of our sauce. Give it all a good stir, and we are going to start preparing a cartouche with the help of some parchment paper or baking paper, and fold it in half first and sort of pick a middle point in that fold and fold it again into a quarter. And then using that center point, always fold in half until you have a fold small enough that you cannot fold it again. As easy as that. And take a little measurement from the center point, more or less, from your pan, and a little bit more, and cut what is left over. You don't have to do it. You could use the whole parchment paper if needs be. Make a little cut in the middle so that the stew breathes, and just carefully, without burning yourself, position it in the center of the pan and unfold it over the sides to make sure that it creates a very good lid. Wait until it comes to the boil and bring it into the oven at 150 degrees for about 3 hours. As well, you can cook it on your burner. All you'll have to do is to make sure that you use a taller pot, not as wide, as otherwise it will reduce too much. And take a look at how rich and decadent it feels. And that sauce that it feels very thick is thickened not just by the reduction of the juices but the collagen of the pork cheeks. That's what makes it very special. Sometimes we thicken up sauces with flour or corn flour, but in this case I didn't. As you know, I didn't use any at all. And all is left is to serve it and enjoy it. As you saw, I left the chunky vegetables in, but you can use some roasted potatoes as garnish. It will make it the perfect main meal. And the moment of truth. Let's have a little bite and see what, well, it literally just fall off the bone even though there's no bone. It melted in the mouth, I wanted to say. Let's try it. That's it, it's gone. So soft, so succulent, and so rich. So much red wine, so much sweet cherry, which give it that sweetness that makes it very, very special. This is a very rich stew, very wintry, very comforting, and one of my favorite things, even though it's done with a very cheap pork cut or beef cut. And talking about price, I tell you a little anecdote. 11-12 years ago, before I opened Tapas Revolution, that was in El Pirata de Tapas, another restaurant in London, we used to serve pork cheeks all the time, and we went into a television competition called Gordon Ramsay's UK Best Restaurant, and we went into the finals, and I presented a pork cheek dish, and from that day, pork cheeks, which were about 4 pounds, not even 4 pounds a kilogram, transformed into 8 pounds straight away, and it was impossible to buy them anywhere, whether it was in the supermarket or through our own suppliers. So I was my worst enemy, doing it in a show that is watched by, I think it was 8-9 million people live, and now I pay £11 for the pork cheeks, so they are not cheap anymore, but they are absolutely delicious, and that is what matters. Anyway, if you want to find the recipe, please go to my website, thespanishchef.com. You'll find the recipe on my books as well, and see you on my next video. All the best, familia, and enjoy cooking. Adios. If you enjoyed the video, please like it, share it, and subscribe.